Grace and peace. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on when you're joining us. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making us a part of your day. We are really grateful for the opportunity for us to worship together. And we want to welcome you back into Change Fellowship Live. First worship together here in the month of June in 2020. And we just had our Sabbath School study group time. Hope you had an opportunity to be with us and to enjoy that. But we are now going to make our transition into Change Health. Change Health, the idea behind Change Health is to give us an opportunity to look at our health and to see how the gospel, the good news of God's salvation, saves our bodies, saves our minds, and saves our souls to shape how we live. And so that's why you really cannot separate love of God from lifestyle in Him. And that's why we always, by His Spirit, want to be able to take time to worship. And in our worship, look at what role and how He changes our lives physically, mentally, emotionally when we talk about health. So we do want to make sure that we put this disclaimer out there in regards to what we share here in our time together here. That is to remember and be mindful. Nothing here has been approved by the FDA, and nothing we're going to tell you about in this webinar is intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. This is purely educational because we are warned and we are told that our people are perishing because of a lack of knowledge. And one of the best things that we can do to have health and to live and not perish is to have knowledge. So I want to ask you a question. I didn't know if you were aware of this particular statistic. This particular statistic, it really shocked me and it disturbed me. And I wanted to share it with us as we talk about health in our time right here in this segment. We're looking at numbers. We're looking at facts here. Did you all know that according here to Natural News, on the basis of records, again, data, facts, it says here the number of deaths per year versus deaths per year the number of firearms deaths versus the number of doctor or prescription drug deaths per year. This is the annual U.S. death rate for firearms. It stands right now at 31,940. And these are the actual numbers for those cause of deaths. The highest number actually being suicide. Grand total of 31,940 people, 32,000 people perish each year in the United States from firearms. And now, here on the other hand, this is the total number of deaths directly related to U.S. medical intervention. In other words, 106,000 people a year die from adverse drug reactions. 199,000 people die from outpatient services. There are 98,000 deaths caused because of medical errors, and then nearly doubling the total, other related medical deaths. In other words, prescription deaths. I was shocked when I saw this data here. And the data that was here was really amazing. And it's here on the Foundation for a Drug-Free World. And they give international statistics. Let's see if this is something that correlates internationally, worldwide. Well, when you get a little closer here, every day in the U.S., 2,500 youth, ages 12 to 17, abuse a prescription pain reliever for the very first time. That's every day. So most young people are getting access to drugs through not the illegal drug trade, but through the prescription drug trade. In the U.S. alone, there are more than 15 million people who are abusing prescription drugs, more than the combined number who reported abusing cocaine, hallucinogens, inhalants, and heroin. Let's go on and continue to look at more data. This is back in 2007, before the opioid epidemic that we have today. It says there, prescription drug abuse causes the largest percentage of deaths from drug overdosing. Of the 22,400 drug overdose deaths in the U.S. in 2005, opioid painkillers were the most commonly found drug, accounting for 38.2% of these deaths. Let's look at more numbers. When talking about cause of death of prescription drugs, 45% versus 39% of street drugs combined. So in the United States, the most deaths used to take place in inner cities in African-American neighborhoods, but now they've been overtaken by white rural communities. And the same trend can be seen in the rates of hospitalization for substance abuse and emergency hospitalization for overdoses. So of the 1.4 million drug-related emergency room admissions back in 2005, nearly 600,000 of them were associated with abuse of pharmaceuticals alone or with other drugs. Basically, what are we looking at here? If you were to take all this information and distill it, last piece of data that I want to give you, and that's this, that when you look at the numbers and when you actually look at what's factual and not what's fictional, there are about 250,000 people a year who die worldwide from illegal narcotics. There are about 786,000 in the U.S. alone that are perishing from prescription drugs, prescription medications that are totally legal, but not just legal, they are proving to be very lethal. Why are we talking about this during Change Health? I know that in other instances, and as we said, sometimes we'll be cooking, sometimes we'll be talking, and this is one of those times we're going to be talking. And I want to talk to us because I believe the Lord put this on our heart to help us to find healing and to find peace another way. You'll notice that most of these drugs that are being taken, that are prescription drugs or that are being abused, are painkillers. We are looking for alternative ways to find a better life, to find a pain-free state, to find a life where we don't hurt like we hurt before. And so what I believe and what we believe as the people of God in the last days of time in Earth's history is that the Lord wants to do something very special for us. He wants to make us brand new. He wants to make us over. But that's not something that can be prescribed away any more than it's something that can just be ignored. And so one of the things that we have been praying about is how can we make this more practical? How can it be more concrete in a world where most people right now, you have been educated to think that the way to get better is to take more medicine, or the way to be made new is to do something that is pharmaceutical based rather than something that is faith based. Because the idea of a faith-based healing or the faith-based lifestyle, it's built on the things that the Creator has created and not the things that man has manipulated. See, these are things that He made. These are things that He gave us that aren't just tasting good, but these are things that are good for us. That's why when He says no good thing will God withhold from him that walk uprightly, to show how He didn't want to withhold it from us, He put it all over the ground. He hung it all up in the trees so that we in the Garden of Eden will be surrounded by health. We'd be surrounded by life. But now we live in a world where we're getting our food through secondary sources, and we're getting our medicine through sources that have already proven to be dubious, because they are simply manipulations of what He, the Creator, has made. I want to encourage us to take hold of a concept that it's not necessarily new. You may have heard it or seen it before, but maybe the way you're hearing or seeing it may be a little bit different. And I want us to introduce to us the concept of being made newer, or being made new in the newer concept. And what I want us to see here is what the Lord actually intends for us is very simple. What the Lord is actually inviting us to is not expensive. And what He's asking us to embrace only requires a transaction of your trust, a transaction of your faith, that if you do this, God will do something in me. The newer concept is what we're talking about. Now, most of us, when you think about this, you may have heard of the New Start concept, the New Start theory. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, this is derived from that. But what I want to see it as not just a deriving from, I want to see it as a distillation, to where we're trying to take this concept and make it something even more precise, more concise, that's approachable, and that's easy to do day one, right now from the day that you see it. And it's the concept of being made new or newer through nutrition, exercise, water, and rest. These 4 pillars to stand on, these 4 pillars to serve as a foundation to build on in your health. I know that right now, as you're watching right here, that there are some of us who are dealing with medical issues, some serious medical issues, some chronic medical issues, some acute medical issues, but issues nonetheless. And even if you are considered or you think that you are healthy, there's still the possibility to be healthier. There's always that superlative. We can always do better. No matter how good it is in Jesus, we can always be better. And this concept today, what I want us to really focus on is the nutritional aspect of being new. The newer lifestyle starts with, and it's built on, what output or what goes into my body. What am I putting in the temple that the Lord has given me, according to 1 Corinthians? And when we think about our bodies as temples, and you recognize, like, okay, if I want to be or have a healthier life, I've got to look at what I'm eating. You have to think about diet. One of the issues that I have with traditional medicine and with conventional medicine is that it does not look at the holistic approach to our lifestyle. It is only dealing with the symptoms, but it's not really delving in and digging into the cause, into what's bringing about the symptom. Now, again, I believe that there is a place for conventional and what we consider to be mainstream medicine. I think one of the strengths, in fact, of conventional medicine, is its approach to acute treatment. In other words, if I'm outside and I fall and I lacerate my hand, the ability to acutely address that through emergency care, through urgent care, to bind up that wound, that's priceless. In fact, if I am shot, God forbid, and if I'm hurt in a position and a bullet is, don't go and take me to a medicine cabinet where you got charcoal, where you got garlic. No, I need somebody who's trained to get that bullet out of me and to sew me up. And now, through that acute care, I can continue on. But a chronic issue, a lifestyle issue, I don't really see that as a strength of conventional medicine. This is a role I think that natural medicine has a real part and a real power to play in. And so the fact of the matter is that most of us are not dying from acute illnesses, from acute issues. Something happens in a moment and we didn't have medical care. Most of us are dying from chronic conditions, lifestyle conditions. Now you got a problem where the strength of mainstream medicine is to deal with acute care, but most people and most issues that we're having are chronic. We're in effect, we're bandaging bullet wounds with Band-Aids. And so by looking at our health only through pharmaceutical lenses that are trying to mitigate symptoms, that they admittedly then cause other symptoms. And if you think I'm making it up, just go watch TV and watch a pharmaceutical commercial and listen to the last 30 seconds of a 60-second ad. The last portion of the commercial is spent telling you what? The potential side effects. And I cringe every time I hear them, but especially when I hear death as a possible side effect. And we're at a point now where we're actually gambling our health on a drug that tells us this might kill you on the chance that it might help you. Friends, there's a better way, and it's the newer way. And it's the idea of focusing on nutrition. So in the last part of this segment, what's the word that I think the Lord has for us today? The word that I want to encourage us with in terms of our health and in terms of nutrition to be made newer, I want to invite you to ask the Lord in prayer about where does he want you to be in relation to a vegan lifestyle. What is a vegan lifestyle? So that you won't think that I'm making it up or I'm putting it towards you. Stay with me, and let's dig. Let's learn together. When we talk about a vegan lifestyle, what are we talking about here? Well, let's just look at I'm curious because I'd like to know what the general definition of a vegan is that's out there. When you see what a vegan is, we're not looking for vegan. There we go. It's the practice. It says here the practice, according to Donald Watson, a term that was coined in 1944. Veganism is the practice. Whoops. Okay. You see, you got some vegan restaurants, but I wanted to define the term vegan. Let me go back. All right. Here we go. Veganism is the practice of abstaining from the use of animal products, particularly in diet, and an associated philosophy that rejects the commodity status of animals. A follower of the vegan diet, or a follower of the diet or the philosophy known as vegan. That's what a vegan is. So distinctions may be made between several categories of veganism. Just like you have in the situation where you have a vegetarian, and there are different types of vegetarians. There are some vegetarians who will not eat flesh meats, but they will eat animal byproducts, or some of those who will not eat red meat, but they'll only eat fish. And they have different names and different categories, but I believe that there is a place and that the Lord is calling on the people of God to come up higher. Coming up higher doesn't mean I'm about putting others down lower. No. Rather than coming up higher, using that term, going further. He wants us to go to the next step in the journey. And the idea of the vegan diet being the next step in the journey, if we make that step as the people of God, when you step out there, there's something that you're going to see. What you're going to see is that you're going to be surrounded by a lot of people who aren't even Christian. You're going to find yourself in company and in companionship with people who don't even necessarily believe in the God that you do. But they know that when I eat this thing, I may not know who made it. I may not believe who you believe created this, but I know that when I put this in my body, in my mouth, something changes. Something's different. I'm not the same person. And so what I'm trying to get us to see today as the people of God is that if the unbelievers believe in what God has done, how crazy is it that those who believe in God or who claim to believe in God don't believe in eating what he's made? This is the philosophical confusion that we have that leads to the physical illness that we have. See a man who's unstable in all his ways, the Bible says, he is an unstable mind. And what I want us to recognize now is that the Lord is calling us to work in a way that is compatible with his will and to live in a way that is compatible with his blessings. I know that the Lord answers the prayer of healing. I know that we can go to God, and I know that we give prayer requests and we share prayers for people who are ill with diseases, who are sick with cancers, who are hospitalized, and the Lord hears those prayers. But what we want to remember today, folks, is that the same one who hears those prayers with his ears, he has spoken with his mouth. And in his mouth, he has said in the book of Genesis, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for meat. Because in this seed, just like if I were to take this and crack it open, and that seed, that if I put it in the ground, would bear a seed that would turn into a tree, this meat will bear life and grow life in me. It will heal me because he made it. And he made it because he loves us. So what I want to encourage us in our time together today is to eat it, not just because we love ourselves. That's really fundamentally the difference between the unbelieving vegan and the believing vegan. It's out of the selfish desire to I want to live long. It's the selfish, me-ish idea. I want to live. This is the way for me to live. We transcend that as the children of God. Because through the grace of Jesus Christ now, I love you and I want to maintain what you've given me. I want to expand what you've anointed. And I want to enjoy a life that allows me to enjoy life. So that when I'm happy, when I'm praising the Lord, I can clap my hands and not say ow because of the carpal tunnel. That when I'm blessed and the Lord answers a prayer and he makes something happen that I could not done, I can lift my hands and I can praise and I can shout, I can jump and not cry out in pain. I can praise you with all of my heart, with all of my being, because I'm healthy. And one of the greatest blessings that the Lord wants to give to you is also one of the greatest gifts that we give back to him. And it's a healthy life. So as we look at this and pray for us, because I really believe that we want to build on this newer idea so that it's something that's compatible and it's something that's approachable to those who don't even know God. In fact, this orange can be the gateway to faith. How these grapes can be the foundation for believing that, wow, the one who made this and who made it so it's just simple as plucking it. That's how simple it is to take the gospel and to consume it. And by faith, believe it. Yeah, it's good. It's good because God is good. I don't want to smack. But I want to encourage us today. When we think about our health, I know some of y'all are watching right now, right there, out there, and you know what I'm talking about. You're feeling me. And you know this is the direction that God's calling you to go. But you're nervous. You're scared. You're worried about what other people are going to think of you. I want to tell you something. Don't worry about what other people think about you. Worry about what God knows about you. And if you know that the Father is saying, I'm ready for you to take the next step. Some of you were taking these steps. You went the other way. You got discouraged. And it's okay. Just because you stop walking doesn't mean God stops leading. When we make those choices, he's still there to say, all right, let's do what already should have been done. And the Holy Spirit can do in a moment what it will take man to do in a lifetime. That's a quote from Testimonies to Ministers. And I pray that it ministers to our heart today. Take the opportunity to learn about the vegan lifestyle. You can do that through our blog. We got a lot of good information on the Bailey blog at changeministry.org. Pray for us because I'm even at a point where I'm thinking about launching this as an entirely separate or different entity sponsored by Change Ministry, but as a website that deals specifically with giving people information on healthy living, a vegan lifestyle. In fact, the vegan gluten-free lifestyle. Not just that, trying to get as natural as possible, reducing those things that we don't need and increasing the things that we do need. Trying to be as raw as possible. I'm not a subscriber to the all raw diet, but I do believe that the raw elements of food combined with cooked healthy food create the best balanced lifestyle. But again, I don't want this to just be an idea of a personal philosophy. We're trying to present this as a way out of the hospital bed, a way off of the drug bottles. That's God's will for us. Too many of us are dying. Almost 1 million people. That's ridiculous when we can be the exact opposite if we have faith in what God's done. That's it for our Change Health segment this afternoon. I want to encourage you to continue to follow the Spirit's voice and continue to do your own research. And I pray that change will be a part of your exploration in your step forward. You got a question, comment, have an idea about how to take that next step? If that's what you want to do, please let us know. Just drop us a text as you can by sending us a chat message, or you can email us at contact@changeministry.org.